The year was 1552, and our ship, the San Juan, set sail from Cochin, India, bound for Portugal. She was a proud galleon, her hull swollen with riches, silks, spices, ivory and porcelain, but burdened too by the weight of our arrogance. We were over 500 souls aboard, men, women and children, trusting in timber and wind to carry us across the endless sea. The voyage began with laughter, songs of home, and the salt taste of freedom, but the ocean has a cruel way of humbling men. For weeks the winds turned against us and the waves rose like mountains. I remember the first crack of thunder that shattered the air, the sound of heaven itself splitting open. By the third week of storm, the sea had become a beast. Waves struck from all sides, their white crests glowing like teeth in the darkness. The San Juan groaned beneath us, her masts whipping like reeds. Men prayed and cursed, women clutched their children, and I, João Alvarez by name, held fast to the rail. Drenched in rain and terror, every flash of lightning revealed faces pale with despair. We had no stars to guide us, no sun to mark our days. The sea swallowed all sense of time. Then came the sound we dreaded most, the rending of wood as our hull struck rock. The great galleon shuddered, tilted, and in that moment I knew the ocean had claimed us. The night was chaos. Barrels burst free, timbers snapped, and the cries of drowning men filled the wind. I remember being thrown into the surf, the salt burning my eyes as I clung to a splintered plank. The waves hurled me again and again, each one threatening to drag me under. I caught sight of the ship's lanterns sinking beneath the foam, tiny stars dying in the deep. I thought of my wife, who had begged me not to sail again. I thought of the gold in the hold, now worthless at the bottom of the sea. Then through the darkness I glimpsed what I first took for a cloud, a black outline against the horizon. Land. By morning the storm had passed, leaving a silence almost cruel. The sea was calm again, as if mocking our ruin. Bodies drifted among the wreckage, faces pale and swollen. We few who had survived, perhaps 70 souls, crawled ashore onto a vast and unfamiliar coast. The sand was black as coal, the air heavy with the smell of decay and salt. Behind us the waves still carried the remnants of the San Juan. Ahead, a wall of dense forest loomed, green and endless. We fell upon our knees, some in prayer, others in despair. None of us knew where we were, only that the world we had known was gone. That first night on land was no mercy. We built no fires, fearing to draw attention. Strange cries echoed from the trees, laughter, or perhaps something worse. We huddled together, soaked and shivering, our bellies gnawed by hunger. The sea had spared us, but what awaited inland was a mystery darker still. At dawn, the sun revealed what the night had hidden. Tracks in the sand, bare feet, many of them. The realization sent a chill through our blood. We were not alone on this island. In the days that followed, we scavenged what little the sea returned. Bits of food, soaked grain, a barrel of wine split open on the rocks. We built crude shelters from the wreckage, but the wind tore them apart. The women wept for their children. The men argued over what to do. Some said we should build rafts and try to reach open water again, others that we should venture inland to seek help. I said nothing. The forest felt alive, watching us. Each time I looked toward the trees, I thought I saw movement, a shadow slipping between the trunks. On the third day, they came. We saw them first at a distance, a group of figures standing on the ridge above the beach, dark against the sky. They carried long spears and wore ornaments of bone and shell. For a long moment, they simply watched us. Then, as suddenly as they had appeared, they vanished into the jungle. Some of the men cheered, believing them friendly, but I saw the look in their eyes, not curiosity, but hunger. At first, the island seemed to offer mercy. We found a stream of fresh water trickling down from the hills, and the fruit trees hung heavy with strange red pods that oozed sweet juice. But every blessing was shadowed by danger. One of the men, Duarte, bit into a fruit and fell writhing within the hour, his lips turning black. We buried him beneath a mound of sand, marking the place with a cross of driftwood. Hunger drove us to gamble again and again with the island's gifts, each meal a prayer whispered between bites. The forest was thick and humid, full of sounds we could not name. Birds screamed like people, and the rustle of branches sometimes carried the rhythm of footsteps. We began to organize ourselves, sailors and merchants, women and children, a pitiful remnant of a great ship reduced to beggars in paradise. We gathered driftwood, dried seaweed, and built small fires hidden beneath overhanging cliffs. Each night the smoke clung to us like guilt. Our leader, Captain Carvalho, insisted we remain close to the coast. "If God wills," he said, "another ship will pass." But I could see in his eyes that even he no longer believed it. The sea had become a graveyard, and no one comes to visit the dead. The days grew hotter, and our meagre supplies shrank. Hunger crept among us like a thief. One morning we woke to find footprints all around our camp, dozens of them circling the ashes of our fire. Someone had been there while we slept. Panic spread like fever. The captain ordered double watches, but sleep became impossible. That night we heard drums echoing from the forest, low, steady, and far away. The sound was both beautiful and terrifying, like a heart beating in the dark. The women huddled together whispering prayers. I remember one of them asking, "Do you think they know we're here?" No one answered. We all knew they did. 2 days later we saw them again. A small group of islanders appeared at the edge of the forest, carrying woven baskets. They approached slowly, unarmed, smiling in a way that made my stomach twist. The captain went forward with a few men, offering trinkets, a mirror, a silver spoon, a scrap of cloth. The islanders accepted, nodding and laughing, then gestured for us to follow them inland. Some argued we should stay, others believed they meant to help. Desperation won. By dusk, 30 of us followed them into the jungle, myself among them, while the rest remained on the beach to guard the camp. The forest swallowed us whole. The air grew thicker, the light dimmer. Our guides moved swiftly, barefoot and silent, while we stumbled after them, sweating and cursing under our breath. At last we came to a clearing where small huts of woven palm stood in a ring around a great fire. The islanders gestured for us to sit. They brought roasted meat and offered it freely. Hunger overcame caution. We ate. The meat was sweet and tender, unlike anything I'd tasted before. Only when one of the sailors found a charred human hand among the embers did we understand what we had done. The clearing erupted in chaos. Men screamed, women fainted, and our guides began to laugh, high, shrill, and inhuman. They seized us with astonishing strength, knocking us to the ground with their spears. I fought one off and fled into the darkness, branches tearing at my skin. Behind me I heard the captain shouting, then the dull thud of clubs meeting flesh. The drums began again, louder now, joined by voices chanting in a language that sounded like thunder. I ran until my lungs burned. The forest alive with the cries of men being dragged to their deaths. I hid that night beneath the roots of a fallen tree, shaking and half mad. The moon shone through the canopy, pale and indifferent. I could hear them in the distance, celebrating, the crackle of fire, the rhythm of drums and something else, the sound of bones breaking. I pressed my hands over my ears, but the noise was inside me. When dawn came, I crept back toward the shore. Smoke still rose from the trees, black against the morning sky. Of the 30 who had gone inland, only I returned. I returned to the shore a ghost among the living. The few who remained looked upon me as though I had come back from the dead, which, in truth, I had. My clothes were torn, my body streaked with blood and ash, and I could barely speak. When they asked what had happened to the others, I told them only, "They are gone." No one pressed further. There are horrors that cannot be spoken without bringing them back to life. That day we buried what little hope we had left. The captain was dead, the strongest among us devoured, and the island now seemed to breathe with a hunger of its own. Every tree, every shadow, felt as though it watched us. We decided then to leave the beach, to find another place along the coast where the islanders would not follow. But moving was agony. Many of us were sick, our skin covered in sores from the salt and sun. We carried what we could salvage from the wreck: a rusted compass, a few knives, a single musket with 3 charges of powder. The women carried the children, their faces hollow, their eyes already belonging to another world. We followed the shoreline for days, eating seaweed and shellfish, drinking rainwater from leaves. The ocean, once our enemy, became our only friend. It whispered to us through the wind, as if reminding us that it still remembered our names. On the 5th day of our wandering, we came upon a river that ran deep and slow. There we built crude rafts from driftwood and vines, desperate to escape by water. Some said it was madness, that the sea would only kill us again. But death by drowning seemed a mercy compared to what lay inland. We worked through the night, our hands blistered and bleeding. By dawn we had 3 rafts ready. We pushed them into the water, hearts pounding, the jungle silent behind us. For a moment, I thought we might truly escape. Then the drums began again. They came from the hills, echoing across the water like a curse. Figures appeared among the trees, dozens of them, running along the banks with spears raised. Arrows hissed through the air, striking the water around us. One man was hit in the throat and fell without a sound. Another raft capsized as the survivors panicked, their screams swallowed by the river. I paddled with all the strength left in me, my arms trembling, the current dragging us toward the open sea. When at last we broke free of the river's mouth, I turned to look back. The islanders stood on the shore, their bodies painted in white and red, their faces still and watchful. They did not follow. They simply watched, as if bidding farewell to the next course in their endless feast. We drifted for days upon the open ocean. The sun burned our flesh, and our lips cracked from thirst. The sea was calm, but our minds were not. Some began to speak of ghosts, that the spirits of the eaten were calling to us from beneath the waves. One man threw himself overboard, shouting that he saw his wife in the water. I could not tell whether it was madness or mercy that drove him. By the 4th night, only 5 of us remained alive. The stars above looked strange, their constellations unfamiliar. It felt as though the world itself had forgotten us. On the morning of the 6th day, I awoke to the sound of gulls. At first I thought it a dream, but then I saw land, low and green upon the horizon. We let the current carry us closer until we struck shallow reefs. Crawling onto the sand, I collapsed and wept. We had reached the coast of Mozambique, though I did not know it then. Fishermen found us that afternoon, their language foreign but their kindness unmistakable. They gave us water, fruit and shade, and by sunset I slept for the first time in weeks without fear. When I awoke, I was the only one left alive. Years have passed since that day, but the sea has never left me. At night I still hear the drums, not in the distance, but inside my own heart. The priests tell me to thank God for my deliverance, and I do, but I also know that the ocean is not done with me. Sometimes, when the wind is right, I smell that island again, the smoke, the rot, the salt. I wonder if its people still dance by the fire, still taste the flesh of strangers, still watch the horizon for ships like ours. I pray they do not, but deep down I know they will. The sea always gives, and the sea always takes, and somewhere out there it is waiting to take again.